And Devoe, good morning.
Good morning, team. Good morning, Lagos. Cool. Show me the new Naira.
It's coming, it's coming.
Crisp.
And I've
Mint.
got you. Okay, I've got you up on youtube.com/smooth981FM Lagos and on the live chat on that live stream. I got you on WhatsApp on 0809 440 981, and I've got you on Twitter. Use the hashtag FreshlyPressed981 to get your thoughts into the right place as we get into the stories. And first up, you might be in a queue right now. You might have felt the effects of it. You might be wondering as you look at your fuel gauge, am I going to have to jump on one of those? From Business Day, we have got this one: fuel queues return in Lagos as scarcity bites. Now, the queues have been forming in many filling stations across Lagos. And yesterday, well, Business Day went out and had a look and noted just how long they were, saying that it's been worsening the traffic situation. Like I said, you might have felt that, and also leaving many stranded at bus stops across the state. Devo, it's back.
It is back. It is back as usual. By this time, I think we're becoming experts in managing fuel crisis. Unfortunately, that's not the kind of skill we need in a country like ours. However, it's been noticed that major fuel queues resurfaced around Lagos across the weekend and have been tightening by the day with a lot of major traffic jams, especially at various fuel stations around the city. This was following a threat by Nupeng, that's the Nigerian uh,
Nigerian Union of
yes,
Petroleum and Natural
petroleum
Gas Workers.
workers to shut down supplies due to the rampant extortion, intimidation, attack by hoodlums, otherwise known as agberos, on their members, right? Now, they've said that despite the fact that they've sent a letter to security agencies, now they're writing to Sanwo-Olu, the governor of Lagos, things have not changed. Now, obviously, it's affecting the transport pricing because, but if you've seen either even on your hired apps or on via public busing, pricing has increased, and also it has affected transport availability. You see lots of people gathering at the bus stops because there are not as many cars. Because most drivers are fighting, most drivers and even private owners are fighting for fuel at the filling station. Now, fuel is supposed to be still selling at 180. So those who are still selling at the regulated price have the largest queues, while some have just gone on to sell at 220. Now, this pricing challenge, is dogged by the fact by prior to this time, because it wasn't the Nupeng threats that started this scarcity. We know that the depot price shifted, and as you know, once the depot price shifts up to 165, 175, there's no way they can sell at 180 at the pump. And what that means is we're back to that situation where the independent marketers will let you know that it's time for a price change to be able to take in their bridging cost. So we're looking at something 200, 220. This is the gradual lifting or the removal of the subsidy so that not only that Nigeria can breathe because we're badly bleeding. Finance Minister said we're going to spend up to 6.7 trillion by mid-year 2023. Obviously, we can't afford that. Who's going to pay that? So Nigerians, buckle up. What I would say is this, and the final statement: federal government, please just increase it, announce it, and do it gently instead of frustrating Nigerians, especially as we enter the Yuletide or the end year season. There's no point. We don't have to suffer. If you're going to increase it by 29, just do it easily. I think Nigerians can cope with that rather than denying the fact that you want to remove the subsidy gradually and suffering the masses nationwide.
Well, you know what? Let's still focus on the money that's coming in from this one, right? We've heard from the Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative that Nigeria earned $741.48 billion from oil and gas between the years of 1999 and 2020. This was what its NATI's Executive Secretary, Dr. Ogbonaya Oji, said in Abuja yesterday at a stakeholders engagement forum on the implementation of the petroleum industry act, saying that they've conducted many cycles of audit reports, and this is the amount that has come up. But you know what? It's like we see the figures. I see the figures on paper, but do I see the figures in real life and
I
the
can
effects of those
I can
figures?
almost say that this is a not even a non-story. You see, in Nigeria, figures don't mean nothing. Because for someone who has earned this amount of money across this number of years, I expect us to be looking like Qatar, right?
So how can you say it's a non-story? Because for me, that is the story. It is such a major story. How can we be earning so much money as a state and yet have so little to show for it?
Luckily,
Everybody keeps saying Nigeria, see your mates. I don't want to see my mates. I want to be above my mates as
remember
Nigeria.
remember David Cameron when he called us fantastically corrupt.
Mm.
What was his position? He said he was aware of the 50 billion receipts that Nigeria had earned from crude oil sales. So, as government officials, you can't be going to the UK and just trying to prove a point that you need some money when they just saw some receipts that went into your favor. So here they're telling us that we earned this amount. Really, Chopet, the story here is not about how much we've earned. The story is about how corrupt we are, that we make so much and we see very little. I don't think this story will shift anybody. It's not going to create outrage because right now crude is being stolen to the tune of almost 500,000 barrels per day, and nobody's in outrage. Nobody's screaming. The streets are still moving. Everybody's going to work. Life goes on.
Wow, people, did you hear that? I just think, Devoe, what did you just do there? Did you just call out
I
every
cannot
single
come and
person
shout.
in Nigeria?
Yes,
Okay.
because you see, they rape us blindly in our front. It's not hidden anymore. And then what do? We just say, still vote him in, still vote them back in.
God day.
Hmm?
God day.
There's no God in this matter. The crude is living and it's selling.
Please, let's move on now. From the Vanguard newspaper, Nigerian university students paying too much for education. That is what the president of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, Professor Emmanuel Shodeke, has said, saying that Nigerian students are actually paying high tuition fees and it would be counterproductive and ill advised for the government to introduce a new circle of fees into the system in the harsh economic realities of the time. This is quite an interesting one for me, Lakunle, because I would have thought that Nigerian university students are paying too little fees, quite low fees. Or is he talking about private university students? I'm confused here. Shed some light on this situation. Give me your point of view.
Okay, so regular listeners know my standpoint about this already. So, the first question I will ask the ASU president is, what does he really want? He just came back from a strike, and the matter of the strike was fund the university government, and government says, I don't have enough money to do what you want.
By the way, he's already said what he wants: more investment in the education system and the welfare
That's
of
that
lecturers.
that is this time, the last time.
That's what he wanted ASU president.
Okay, so my thoughts. So government says I don't have enough money to do what you want, and my position is, if for me to get to where you want us to get to, I will have to look at alternative sources of funding, which may include having the students to pay. You say no, students should not pay. Then now he says students are paying too much. So I'm asking myself, what exactly do students pay today? Accommodation in the universities today is still 90 naira, at least officially. I'm not aware that any public university, federal university, pay tuition. The only thing possibly else they pay will be all those departmental fees here and there and. Okay, so if
And
we
for
put that,
lecture reading materials and all that.
okay, so if we put that into perspective, let's just switch to the other side. The people who go to the private universities, or those who scringe and scrunch to send their children abroad. And then we look at it across board and say, so who exactly is he speaking to that is paying too much? We're going to have to do something different anyway. And one of the things we're going to do is not to stick to where we are today.
Now,
To get what we want these universities to get to.
question, Lakini, and I want to ask you this. Now, you just said we're going to have to do something new. Is ASU an obstacle in that doing something new? Because reading through this, right, looking at all the different options that were brought out from the Minister of Works and Housing, who said that it needs to be decentralized. We have to decentralize the funding of the universities of education in Nigeria, to the president of the Lagos University of Lagos Alumni Association, Dr. John Momo, who said that they need to look in the direction of their alumni associations, which we see a number of other universities in other climes doing and generating quite good funds, and also talking about business communities as well. And yet we have ASU saying this,
That's
that
it.
lecturers cannot be involved in this, that the staff, university staff cannot be involved in this.
You see, that's one of the things that I have this position as well, maybe controversial, that so I'm a lecturer. I started lecturing age 25, and then I rose to the rank. I become a professor within the academic environment, and then all of a sudden, because I'm professor, I'm saddled with the responsibility to administer a university. How much administrative experience have I garnered over the years is not into consideration. The principal thing is that I must be a professor before I can be an administrator of the university, right? And then these things always come out to bear when such individual becomes the VC, because the chief executive of the university. You see it every day. I was in the university campus over the weekend, and I took a walk around the university, about 10 kilometers within the university campus. And the things I was seeing, I was telling myself, and the only thing in my head was, okay, so they have this. Can't they turn? Let me give a typical example of what I saw. Okay, so they have a piggery and a poultry unit, and all the pens in there are in various stages of dilapidation, right? And I'm thinking, okay, so if this university have, say, 10, 20 million naira, and they refurbish this thing and they ask people, farmers out there who need spaces to grow their pigs, to grow their poultry, to come and rent it, and they pay, and two things happen. That thing becomes functional. It gives their students an opportunity to see what they are learning in class in real life. It gives them an opportunity to also conduct researches in partnership with the owners of that of the with the tenants who use those places. It's money generation for the university, right? So there are so many options in there that they are not looking into. Some of these things come out to hurt us. Then it also comes down to the same thing. You know the history of what happened between a certain chairman of the governing council of a university in this country, who asked the sitting VC, that who says that they wanted to refurbish or they renovate the VC's lodge with 50 million naira. And the man asked him, if he wanted to build a new one, how much would it cost? So those are the issues that are also that there are so many opaque things in there that is making even the funds that are available to the universities do as much as it can do. And these are the things that we need to get our heads out of this idea that government must fund everything. And if the students have to pay for this thing, it, short of sounding insensitive, we have to do it. We have to do something different. We can't stay here. We've been doing this thing for 60 years or 70 years. Say, okay, you 70 years, and there's no difference. So we have to change it.
Look, at the end of the day, people, university, a tertiary education is not supposed to be part of social welfare.
Absolutely.
Basic education, yes.
Yes.
Everybody has the right to basic education, but tertiary education is something that some might consider that is just another
It's a
avenue.
value add.
It's just another avenue to add
Yes.
value, but you can also go in other directions, skills acquisition, and working on that. But now let's move on to this news from the Guardian newspaper. Nigeria needs 7 trillion naira yearly to adequately fund our social security system. This is as part of the solutions for Nigeria to end our endless poverty cycle. The country needs about 5 to 7 trillion naira yearly to fund the operation of a thorough, well managed social security system. This is coming in from a report on Nigeria's poverty trap and how to end it by the Institute for Governance and Economic Transformation. Lakunle, what would you say to this?
When I first saw this story, the first thing that came to my head is that, okay, we're in a country that somehow everything that should not go wrong with a group of people, a country, a state, a region, has practically gone wrong with us, right? You look at it from every
You're going to
aspect.
need to explain that to me.
We're going to look at every aspect of our lives. We just spoke about one now, our education, see where we are with it. Health, see where we are with it. Even the goose that lays the golden egg, see where we are with it. Devoe just spoke about it this morning. We're supposed to do 2.1 million barrels. More than 500 of it is stolen. 500,000 of it is stolen every day. And we're just like that. And if you look at every aspect of our life, so it's the same thing. Even what would have served as our social security, as this thing referred to, the subsidy on oil, see what we have done with it. So it still comes down to the same thing that, yes, These things are there. These things are possible. Look, let's assume that we even properly manage this 5 trillion. It's even cheaper than what we're spending on subsidy, just one product annually now, right? So it tells you something that we make enough money to make Nigeria and Nigeria better than it is, and Nigerians live better quality life than we do right now. Right. So this report, it would be nice. I would like to read the full report on it in itself, right? One of the major challenges this report highlighted is that we don't have data to actually cope with. Do we know our exact number? Do we know the exact number of Nigerians that need to be in school? All those things are those are the things. Those are. Then he mentioned corruption again, which we have also highlighted already, and of course, um, even the citizens ourselves, our lackadaisical attitude towards a lot of things, we just relax that okay, government is government, everything is government, everything is government. We don't take responsibilities of some of these things. How many of us have engaged our councillor, our local government chairman, our house of rep, our senator, our governors, up to the president on issues that concern us? We just hear it, we move on. So whether they had this capability to do these things or not, we are not even questioning it. So it's government is just coasting, and we are coasting along with them.
All right, luckily, I'm going to move on to the messages now because we have quite a number of them. And I'll take this one from Victor Shell, who says Nigerian university students might not be paying much on tuition money wise, but they pay more on accommodation outside of campus. The mental stress of graduating from a Nigerian university is next to none because the learning environment is horrible. Just like the power sector, the Nigerian university sector has suffered years of neglect. Catching up with modern institutional standards seems unattainable. And this one in from Jane says, I cannot give my former department a single dime, no matter what they propose. The department, as far as I was concerned, was horrible. This one in Hannah from Surulere says a number of state and private university students pay as high as 300,000 naira. For example, Oye Kitty, which is a federal school, says Hannah. And Izay says, wait, hold on 1 second, says, for which federal university is tuition free and which federal university gives accommodation for that amount? Wow, those facts and figures, not sure about that. And says, but this one in from Wale actually says, even the 19 naira, the students resell the space for above 10,000 naira. So they say you might not be first point, you might be second, third, or 10th at this point to get to whatever prices you're seeing. But Wale says even for the 19 naira, students resell the space for above 10,000 naira and more. This shows the pace so little it can't be sustained. Um, let's see more messages. I'm trying to get more of them in. Hold on. Wow, they're coming in fast and furious. They're coming in fast and furious. Let me take this one in. Wale says, the ASU, oh, this one in D from Alausa says the ASU president seems to be speaking sarcastically, while Wale says, I'm very tired, no light, no fuel. And he goes on to lay it at the feet of leadership. There are more messages coming in, but we still also have to take more stories. So this next one in from This Day newspaper, president to unveil new Naira banknotes today, Devoe. Very exciting stuff, huh?
Drum
So,
roll.
what would you give us your take on this? This is gonna be this was disclosed yesterday by the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, and it looks like the whole president of the country is gonna be in, and it's
Yeah,
gonna be a
and just to surprise people, I will be on the notes. I'm just joking, but anyhow, honestly, we've awaited this moment, and remember the CBN said this was a operation to actually stem inflation, also stem those who had taken cash out of circulation, out of the bank circulation, to attack, prevent vote buying, etc. and co. So there had been some agitation, not only because of the FX rise, because of those who were trying to change their naira for dollar, which EFCC quickly put a peg on by discouraging BDCs from collecting those amounts without reporting them. However, um, because of the agitation that people felt that the December 15th date to the January 30th date would not be enough time for this exchange. What the CBN has done is by bringing the date forward. So they're launching it
Lengthen
today.
the window.
Yes, so it's 100 days now, which the governor has said should be enough time for anybody. He did take a sucker punch to diaspora Nigerians who were saying that, oh, he should extend it, that they're abroad, how they're going to change their naira. They don't want their naira abroad to become tissue paper. And the CBN governor's position was that, well, what do you do with naira abroad? You can't use it there, can you? Well, anyhow, I think we should find another way to give it back to the CBN governor. But anyhow, the new Naira notes will come in 200, 500, and 1,000. This morning, I went to withdraw from the ATM, and a bunch of 1,000 Naira notes mint came out. And I said, uh-oh, can you imagine? Is this when you now make the mint available? Because after today, the issue here is this. With this new release, a lot of market factors will come to play because we know how market people behave. They don't want to be trapped with the old notes. They're going to stop with time receiving the old notes, and that leads to the question: will CBN be able to make the distribution and the provision of the new notes for those who have kept all their money back into the system? That's a question we hope that with all the banks they can actually achieve, and also the FX implication, because at this point it's finally happening. You can expect the naira to take a hit, and I'm not going to be shocked if it's because it's already at 850. I'm not going to be shocked if it hits back 900 upwards again. But let's see how the CBN has planned this. As Buhari said when he was in London, we're not going to allow any candidates with money or thugs to be able to take over Nigeria. That's your president.
And now let's hear from the Nigeria Center for Disease Control. This news comes in from the Punch. Monkeypox cases rise to 604. This is even as suspected cases stand at 1,549 between January 1st and October 30th of this year. What can we come to you for this one?
Right. So the monkeypox virus, is what the NCDC described as a rare zoonotic infectious disease transmitted from animals to human beings. So first note, those of us who are so invested in eating bushmeat, a note of warning to us: we need to be careful what we eat and all that. So the story here is that in Nigeria now we have confirmed 604 cases. Out of the about 1,500 suspected cases and 7 deaths to date. Now, this virus disease is around us anyway. Cameroon, the Central African Republic, some parts of West Africa, and so there's NCDC has been very up and running with giving up to date information as to this. Now, what this story didn't tell us is which states these are, even though it says that they have found it in 31 states and the Federal Capital Territory. That means that only 5 states are yet to have a reported case of this. So it means that let's just assume that at least there's one case of it in every state in Nigeria today. So we need to be careful what we eat, where we eat them, and even the ones we do at home, that they are well cooked before we eat them and stuff. And then when we feel anything that is not out of the ordinary, it is not every headache or every temperature rise that is malaria that you go and take anti-malaria for. Please go to the hospital, get tested, so that some of these things can be confirmed and nipped in the bud. The NCDC have helplines all that is well circulated, and we can also use that as well. Thank you.
Okay, let's take a look at this message. And Ibukun up on WhatsApp says, does the law allow the university's financial autonomy? If the universities generate income, will it not go into the TSA? The student-lecturer relationship needs to improve for the alumni to help with funding, and universities need business development departments to generate funding. And Nedu says, responding to a comment regarding the departments, they are horrible because no one gave them a dime. So let's please break that cycle. This in from Clement says, I agree with Jane. My university dealt with me mentally. Whilst
So you see.
Whilst Julius Oloyede says, please let's not do prejudice to the fundamental rights to education. University education falls within this purview. Uh, and no,
No, it does
actually,
not.
fundamental. The fundamental rights are
You bet.
to
Is your
basic
universal basic education.
education.
The
Some
first
second.
9
That is the
years.
fundamental
The
right.
first 9 years, primary 1 to 6 and GS 1 to 3. That is as defined by the universal basic education. That's why it's in the hands of the local government and state governments.
Thank you. Let's see. Dami from Ikeja says, so are we reaching a societal consensus that access to tertiary education and the opportunities it affords is based primarily on generational wealth? That's not what we're reaching. That's not the consensus we're reaching. It's not based primarily on generational wealth. What we're saying is that it is not a basic fundamental right. What it is something that it, and we have seen this coming up. You know
Shopper,
what?
let me quickly say something about that.
I can't. We don't even have time. I'm gonna move on. But
Let me just quickly say
we
this.
had like 30 seconds.
Yes, exactly. So that is why we have the 6334 system of education, that by the time you are done with your basic education, you should be able to function in something. You should have some form of technical skill that you can function with, read, write, function on something that can earn you a living. Going beyond there is there meaning that you're going to specialize in something that's going to be adding value to the first 9 years later.
What usually
It's a
happens
big
is that
discussion.
people with university degrees tend to earn higher over a longer period of time. Hence, than people who are without those degrees, except for some exceptional cases, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But what that means is that it's an add-on. It's you trying to make sure that you get ahead in life. Thank you. Gilbert Musa from Festac says, on the proposed social security fund to alleviate poverty in Nigeria, like your guest in the studio said, we need to track government spending, hold our local government chairman responsible for projects executed or not executed properly. This equally points to the need for strong institutions in Nigeria and persons with integrity to work with such institutions. And Victor Shell says, with an annual budget of $33 billion, the federal government is less than 10% of the economy, going by the GDP of $450 billion. Our economy is largely controlled by the private sector. We need to understand that the government has much influence and political power, but less financial resources to change the Nigerian fortune. And very quickly, I would like to take this story in from the Punch newspaper. Court orders INEC to resume voter registration. This one is pretty quick. This is up until 90 days before the 2023 general elections. Gentlemen, your thoughts on this? Devoe Okorie, very quickly.
Well, generally, the Federal High Court in Abuja did come out with this. INEC has said that they want to receive the court's proceedings so that they can study and comply. Already, they've been muting to the public that this may not work simply because they will have logistic challenges, starting from one, that out of the 12 million batch of new cards, 8 million are ready. They're not going to release them until they have the full 12 million available, because they want to avoid the case of people going to collect and not seeing. Also, they've also said that the CVR, that's the continuous voters registration, and the complaints and objections process cannot take place at the same time. So we wait to see how INEC studies and comes out with a position. What I would say is that Nigerians, for those of you that, I think they've also mentioned that there's still a lot of up to about 20 million cards still with INEC that haven't been collected. Please go if you haven't and pick up your cards.
All right, so quickly, 90 days. Let's say the election is holding on February 28th. That means that we have between now and January 15th to continue to go and read. INEC is still going to spend some days studying this. So how much time is left for them to do whatever? The process I'm trying to speak to is the process of courts, that this kind of thing should have come earlier. It shouldn't have been days delayed, but here we are. We hope that INEC will comply with the court order and open up the thing and let people go register some more.
All right, well, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Lakunle, you can find him at at Lakunle_70.
No, minus the underscore.
At
Lakunle
Lakunle70.
Yeah.
Thank you. Up on Twitter. And Devoe, well, you can find him in real life and on Lagos Talks. Coming up 8:15, it's gonna be sports inside the locker room.
The headlines.
Well, we didn't get the good interest rates. We're not
The
talking.
news.
That Lagos top story